G'day and welcome to Low Carb Life. We are making a red hot chili sauce with a bit of garlic in it. Guys, this is one of the greatest sauces that I've ever made. It is very fruity flavored, it is very hot, and it is very vinegary, and it's delicious. Naturally fermented, and it has no added preservatives or anything. So basically the lactobacillus bacteria that we put in there are going to do their job and keep us safe when you have your sauce on the shelf. So let's have a look at some of their most amazing sauce. It only takes a few weeks to make, and let's get into it. G'day guys, it's Chris here, and today I am making our habanero and bird's eye fermented chili sauce. It is absolutely amazing. Now this one is super hot, but you can make it more mild by using other types of chili. So it's basically the process is what I'm trying to get across to you guys today. If you know the process, you can make any sauce out of any of these sort of chilies. So let's have a crack at that, hey? I've been absolutely digging this sauce. I've been putting it on just about everything. Put it on some of the little eggplant pizzas we had the other day. It's fantastic. Alright, now we're going to start by sterilizing all the equipment we're going to be using. Because this is fermented sauce, it's going to be out there for about 2-3 weeks, and we don't want bugs getting in there, so we want to try and keep it as clean as we can so we don't end up with any infections. I have had one before, and the stuff still tasted good. Yes, trust me, it was absolutely disgusting, but I still had a try, and I got pretty sick, so don't do that. It was a really bad idea, but just make sure we keep it clean, alright? Now, after a very bad experience, I have learned that I'm going to need gloves to do this, so we'll get these guys on here. Alright guys, there's a few things that you can see that I've got here. So I've got the lid of a spray oil sort of container. So that I have just I've put some nicks in here with the Stanley knife, or just a nice sharp knife, and so that will spread out. Now that's going to sit inside here to weigh our chilies down. If you don't weigh them down, they start floating around and lifting up, and then if they're exposed to the air, the mold can get to them, and we don't bloody want that. That's not good. So I pop that in, upside down the other way, not that way. God, classic. Alright, so that's sitting on top of the chilies, and then we're going to put our weight, which is just a jar full of water, and we're going to pop that in on top, and that's going to keep it under the water. Then I'll put a paper towel on top with a rubber band around the bottom. But we've got to sterilize this stuff, so we're going to grab that, pop it in our pot. Alright, and then we're going to put our weight in. Pop this in here, fill that up with water. It's too heavy for me to lift with my one hand. Hang on. Alright guys, you might be going in here. Alright, there was nothing I could do about it. You guys are going in for a swim, but, you know, honestly, how was it? It was, you know, kind of warm in there, like a spa bath, basically. We're just making sure there's no air pockets in our sanitizing things, and we turn the heat up right up high because I used the wrong one. Great job. Good on me. Pat on the back for using the wrong one. Let's get the right one eventually. Make sure you put your gloves on, guys, because you do not want to have the burning sensations in places that we shouldn't mention on a family-friendly YouTube video. Trust me, it's bad. Now we're going to cut off the stems of our habanero chilies here and just nick them into relatively even-sized pieces. We're not finely dicing them or anything. We just need to make sure that we're not going to have giant air pockets between them, and chilies are full of air, so we just need to chop them up to get our brine all over them so the little lactobacillus bacteria can do their job. So we're getting all those chopped up relatively quickly. They're quite amazingly spicy, these things, and it's not just the seeds in the habaneros that are super spicy. You'll find that the flesh is equally as spicy. And holy smoke, as Granddad would say, these chilies are fiery. My eyes were burning something ferocious at the point of time that I was recording this. It was absolutely horrendous. Who knew they could be so strong? Now don't be afraid, guys, to give your garlic a hell of a good pounding. Beat it up nice and good, flatten it right out, and then we're going to separate all those little cloves, and then we are going to unwrap them. The gloves really help here because it sticks to the garlic skin. They can just go in whole. It's better if you do crush them because then it lets the bacteria get in and ferment any of the sugars that are in garlic. If you've ever roasted garlic, you know how much sugar is actually in it because they get brown, toasty and caramelized and absolutely delicious. So we want to get those sugars eaten up so we can store this out of the fridge later on. Otherwise, if you leave any sugars in there, residual sugar, you're going to get that fermentation. It'll start re-fermenting when it's out on the shelf, and we don't want that because then it becomes less safe. But with the pH this is going to reach in the end, we should be pretty safe. And I'm going to be putting a bit of vinegar in there as well, which makes it extra tangy and extra delicious. So it looks like old Smurf Hands is just about finished getting that garlic. Happy days. Let's get into our next section, guys. Enjoy. Get your gloves off. You don't want to be accidentally touching anything with them. Righto, so the water is boiling. Our stuff looks to be quite sanitized here. So we're going to start emptying that out into the sink. Be very careful. This stuff is extremely hot, as I found out accidentally. Of course I knew it was hot, but yeah, make sure you're getting all the plastic bits out. So there's our little lid. Make sure you don't be a silly person like me and put all your nice sanitized boiling things onto a very unsanitized rack. Now, what I would recommend doing, here we go, here's a burn coming in. Oh god, oh god, it happened. Oh fuck. Alright, grab the metal that's super hot as well and regret your life decisions. Put that on the unsanitized rack and then empty out the boiling water. Now guys, I would recommend spraying your rack with some sort of sanitizing solution, whether it is a light, weak solution of bleach or a solution of star sand. Time to get the chili and garlic mixture into the jar that we're going to ferment it in. So spoon that in because I realised I've already taken my gloves off, so I wasn't going to touch this stuff because it is absolutely red hot and can give you burns in places you don't want to know have burns on them. We're going to get some water, guys. I went to about a litre here, roughly, because it makes it a lot easier for calculations for around about a 3 to 6% salt concentration that we're going to want later to brine the rest of the stuff. So just under a litre there, and pull out all the bugs that fell into your water because that's clearly not sanitary. So pull them out, and she should be right. Alright, grab your salt that you've measured out to be about a 3 or 4% solution and spoon it in delicately because you're going to realise that that was taking way more time than actually just pouring it in. That was silly. And then, for good measure, just whack a bit extra in just so you know the bacteria aren't going to catch up. Any of the other bacteria that you don't want in there are going to supersede your kind of lactobacillus that you do want. Give that a really good stir, make sure it's dissolved as much as you can, and then we're going to have a bit of a closer look at that. Look at that. So I couldn't quite get it fully dissolved. Now we're not at the saturation point here, but look, it just didn't quite dissolve. Pour the salt water in. We want to get as much water in there as we can and spill it all over your bench and all over your feet and regret everything that you've just done. God, I've got to learn how to pour properly. Now we've got our oil, spray oil lid, and we're going to try and stuff that in there to capture all of the chilies so they all stay under the liquid in the brine the whole time. Now this has cooled down quite a bit and it's just not working at all. Like, I've had it work once before, but chilies are getting left, right and centre. They're getting all over it. It's absolutely redundant. So struggle with that for a couple of minutes, try and get that out, and then we're going to come up with another method because this sucks. Let's try the weight in there. It definitely fits, still fits. The jar hasn't changed size, so we know it fits. That's a good thing, but it won't keep them down. They still go around the side of the weight jar. So get the remaining saline solution, the brine that you've got, whack it into a Ziploc bag, and we're going to MacGyver the hell out of this thing. So fill it right up, and basically what this is going to do, it's going to sit on top. And we're going to push the water throughout the sides and get all the air out of that bag so there's no mold growing in between. I don't think it can grow because there's that much salt in there. But once we pop this in the top, it's going to displace all of the air. It's going to keep the chilies under the water or under the brine where we need them to stay because it is an anaerobic process, which means if there's oxygen present, it's just not going to be working anywhere near as well. Now I've stuffed it in there and I've overflowed the brine again. It's going all over the place. I've got an absolute mess on my hands here and I'm not overly happy with it. So I've pulled it out. I'm going to squeeze a bit of the water out of the brine. Lost one chili, one dead soldier, we pray for him. He fell out the side there, but honestly we're just making a bit of space. Once we have that, we're going to put the bag back in, stuff it in there just so there's no air pockets left underneath the bag around that chili, and then we're going to be pretty right from that and we're going to get the top on. So have a look at that, guys. You can't see any air pockets in it. It's looking really good. The chilies, man, chilies just look good from the get-go, hey. The garlic's nice and clear, but you can see it looks like the Colosseum in there. All the chilies spectating themselves. It's great. So fold up a bit of paper towel, and this is going to keep the bugs out, and we're going to put it on with a bit of a rubber band around the top, right? So essentially this is just stopping fruit flies. Anything that smells fermentation, which is generally fruit flies, they'll come around and they'll have a sniff and they'll try and get in there to lay eggs, but we don't want that. So we're going to seal that up with quite crudely with a rubber band and some paper towel. Now we're going to put it on the windowsill here for about, honestly you can usually do it for about 2 weeks. I ended up leaving it for about 6 in the end, and it turned out well. Throw out your piece of crap plastic lid because it did not work, and you can swear at it. Alrighty guys, so we're here now again with these chilies that I've already fermented. They've been going for about 6 weeks or so. I actually ran out of time to get onto them, but they're still going to be fine. They've just fermented out a bit more, which really improves the flavour massively. Like, it really does change. If you make a fresh chili sauce and then try that versus a fermented version, in a triangle test, most people will prefer this version, which is the fermented one. So we're going to pull the top off here, and then I'm going to show you the process after the brine. So no mould, it's been pretty clean. We did try and sanitize it as much as we could. I'm just going to put this over the sink to take off our, essentially what is an airlock with that salty water bag. I'm just going to pull that off and get it in there nice and quick. So have a look inside there. There's a bit of white stuff, guys. Don't stress too much about that. It's actually lactobacillus bacteria. Oh man, that smells good. But it's just, yeah, lactobacillus bacteria. They're in yogurt, they're in everything, they're on your skin, they're absolutely everywhere. So what we're going to do to start off, we're going to strain the brine out. Now, this brine is delicious, so don't waste it. Alright, so it's going to strain the chilies from the brine. Alright, it's looking pretty good. Sometimes I'll lift it up so it drips in to the right spot. Quite a hefty amount of chili in there. Oh, honestly, I cannot tell you how good that smells. It's exciting. It's reminding me of steak and pizza and all sorts of good things. Alright. So what we're going to do, we're going to put these guys straight into our blender. And this is an extremely high-powered blender. Like, I think we've gone over the top with this one, but really we do want a very smooth consistency with the chili sauce because we have the seeds still in there because they hold a lot of the heat. So I really want to keep the seeds in. This thing is going to turn them into absolute dust or mush, and we're going to go forward and pop them in there. Strain them out a bit. Alright. Now guys, one other thing I'm going to put in. So this is not a requirement of things to put in, but I'm going to put in a bit of xanthan gum and a bit of vinegar. So the vinegar, I just like the flavour of it. It actually tastes really good. This stuff's quite sour as it is. We'll try one of the habaneros. That's it's got a lot of heat and it's got quite a bit of a tang to it. This is going to be a good sauce, folks. Whoa. Thought I was going to eat the whole thing, but I'm not. So I'm just going to put the other part away and eat the other half. The flavour of those habaneros though, they are delicious. It's fruity. It's quite incredible. I love them. I've got about, I think about 9 plants of them growing currently. But yeah, they're unbeatable for the right amount of heat, which the fermenting just knocks the top off the heat just a little bit. But the flavour of them is incredible. With the bird's eye in there, they've kind of all started absorbing each other's juices, and it's quite hot. But they are a very similar Scoville unit of heat, these bird's eyes and the habaneros, so that's a good thing. Now, a trick with the xanthan gum, guys, I'm just going to get a little spoon here to actually dab the xanthan gum on, but before I do that, what I'm actually going to do, xanthan gum is very, very gummy. Obviously the name explains a bit of that. But if you put it with water, it gums up into a big chunk and you can't actually really use it. It's very hard to blend. So if you put a tiny bit of oil on a spoon and then just put your xanthan gum into that, it kind of coats each little particle of the xanthan gum. Now you don't need much of this, guys. It really thickens things up quite a lot. So about maybe a quarter of a teaspoon there. Alright, and remember I'm not great with measurements, so. But just mix it in, emulsify it into the oil as much as you can, because once it hits the water it's going to expand and start getting pretty hard to work with. So I just like mixing it into the oil, it makes it a lot easier to deal with later. If you've worked with xanthan gum before, you know what I mean. Right, vinegar. Now, in terms of measurements, guys, I don't really measure too much. This gives it a hell of a bit more of a kick. It's just white vinegar. We're gonna give it a bit of a splash here. Ultimately, it comes down to consistency that you like. So I'm gonna use a bit of this, but then I'm gonna put a bit of the juice, the fermenting liquid that, which was just basically brine, back in there. So it's got a lot of flavour, a lot of heat in there as well. So we'll work with that. Let's get this blended up to start with, and then we're going to add the xanthan gum in as we go. Alright, so you'll see what I mean about this through the blender. She's pretty wild. Let's give it a bit of a kick here. Turn her on. Whoa! Be careful of the fumes when you open that up. That has left a lot of capsaicin free into the air, and it is very hot. It's rough on the lungs, that's for sure. Oh, I want to smell it, but you can see, I don't know if you guys can see this, but there's a little, it's strong. It's really strong, but I can almost smell and taste the aroma of it. My mouth's watering from that habanero before. It's a good thing, I like it. Alright, so, wow, it's bloody strong. It's good. So we're going to put a bit back of the juice back in there. Not too much, because the xanthan gum is going to thicken it up, so we can afford to get a little bit more in. Makes the sauce go a bit further. And it tastes really good. All right, guys, I'm just gonna give it a quick taste to see where the flavor's at currently. That is delicious. Very, very spicy. I'm thinking a touch more vinegar in there would go well. Just needs a little bit more of that. And I'm going to put in the xanthan gum that we've got ready here in the oil. And this is going to be the big blend up. I'm going to really let it go for a bit of a while here. I'll just stir that in. Pop your lid back on. And we'll let it rip again. Alrighty guys, unfortunately during that last video, after I blended this stuff over here, the camera managed to stuff up somehow. So basically all I did after that really was to pour it into small jars, because I was going to give a few of these away to people, and pretty much put them in the fridge, let them cool down for a bit, so they would seal, and then generally you can keep them out on the shelf because this is a fermented product. You can keep them out on your shelf. You can also put them in little squeeze bottles, which I did pick up some of today. I'll show you now. So just fill them up in things like this. It's way easier to pull out of the fridge. They're airtight. You can pop the lid off there. But honestly, if you're doing it for yourself and you're not giving them away, just fill that bad boy up, whack it in the fridge or whack it on your shelf, and off you go. You're about 3 seconds away from happiness when you crack that and just put it all over whatever you're eating. It's pretty awesome. So, gonna give this a bit of a taste. My mouth is watering. I'm pretty excited for this. I'm gonna put the back end of the spoon in, give it a bit of a stir up in case it's settled, but it doesn't appear that it has. That is looking good, but I know it's dangerous because it's quite hot. The flavour is awesome. The flavour is really good. It's fruity. Those habaneros are extremely fruity chilies. They really are nice. There's a good bit of heat there. It's not too much. It's just that I haven't actually had lunch yet and I'm eating hot sauce on an empty tummy, so, you know, and the fumes. Honestly, blending that stuff up, you want to be really careful with that because when you open that lid up, if you've got babies or dogs or cats, just do this maybe outside because that can be quite intense, depending on the chilies that you're using, alright? Now guys, one other thing I meant to mention that I am going to do in another video is you can, when you ferment these, it doesn't have to be pure chili. You can put a lot of adjuncts in there, like mangoes or different fruits. I'm going to be putting some capsicums and some carrots in one of the next ones. Also, I'm going to be putting some mango in another variety of sauce with the Thai bird's eye and a bit of the cayenne pepper that we've been growing as well, and also obviously habaneros because I've got heaps of them and they are fantastically delicious. That flavour. I cannot, guys, recommend this enough to you. Get the habaneros and get them fermenting. They taste about 1,000 times better than when they're just eaten raw. They really are absolutely beautiful peppers, and get around it. Other than that, the only thing I've really got to tell you guys is to make sure you like and subscribe to the channel because I'm going to show you how I actually grew the habaneros, the cayennes, and the Thai bird's eye chilies. I've got heaps of jalapenos growing, and I've got a bunch, I think I've got about 20 different varieties of chilies growing right now, including Carolina Reapers. But if you want to see how I'm actually getting that done, I've got the seed mat over there with the little, it's got the little aerodome on it. And actually over there you can see an incubator which has 24 chicken eggs in it. We've got 2 roosters and 5 hens, and the roosters are getting their job done and the incubator is getting its job done. We also do have currently chicken that is gone broody and she has 9 eggs underneath her. So guys, stick around for the videos, like and subscribe because there's going to be many interesting things coming up in the near future, and I love talking to you guys. You guys, if you've got any questions or any comments of suggestions that you'd like to see, different sauce recipes made, or if you'd like to offer suggestions of how I can do things better, which is honestly, there's a lot of things I can do better, but look, get stuck into the comments, let me know, and let's go from there. Like and subscribe. I will see you in the next video, guys. You have a great week.